What's up, everyone? Today I'm going to show you my janky deck. It's just a pile of junk, pretty much. I bought the Star City Games 1,000 card lot, and this is the first of my attempts at trying to build something out of pretty much a bunch of junk. So these decks aren't going to be high powered. I've already constructed two. This is the first. This is Combo Gate. Essentially, with all the junk cards that I got, I had all of these like gate cards, one of them being Cerulean Gatekeepers. So if you control 2 or more gates, you gain 7 life. Now it's 4 mana for 2/4, and the effect is, first of all, it's situational, and then you only get health, which isn't that good, but I don't know, I just wanted to make something out of all these junk cards. So another one is the Ubulsar Gatekeepers, and this guy is similar in stats, 4 mana, 2/4, but he actually can do something. He actually gives a creature -2, -2, so you can kill 2 toughness creatures. Got a full playset of these as well, so 4 of those. And here's all the like gates that I got. And I got the black and green gates, the Golgari Guildgates, as well as these that also produce a swamp or a black mana, but also gives you the flexibility of maybe getting a white mana or a red mana. Now, I wanted to play with all 8 of these just so I can use those effects and kind of have like a base core of using these really crappy cards. And it's kind of interesting, kind of like the thought process of this deck. So essentially you want to outlast your opponent and then set up for a combo. So that combo is going to be, in the end game you're going to get Grove of the Guardian, hopefully. And there's some other creatures that that are big in this deck, but this right here, you pay 5 mana, 1 green, 1 white, 3 any color. You tap this, and you tap 2 untapped creatures, and then you get an 8/8 with Vigilance. Now, that's a big body, and we're going to use that for Fling. That's one card that I saw that I was like, hey, this is kind of interesting, let's try to make it work. So essentially, you get this big body out, and then you fling it at your opponent, and hopefully throughout the game you've done enough damage that you can outlast them. Because remember, we're playing with 4 Cerulean Gatekeepers, just to have endurance, extra 28 life potentially if you play all 4 in a match. And then we have these Gatekeepers, which are just kind of like a good mid-game control, have 4 health, they can take out a 2 toughness creature. Pretty nice, pretty nice. But the main thing is you want to, I guess, just outlast your opponent with health, and that's kind of my strategy with this. That's kind of the combo right here. Try and fling. Now there's other strategies that you can win with this deck. So in my case, I also got these really crappy cards of Infection. I was like, what is this? Because, you know, I'm still kind of brand new, but I was looking at these cards and I'm like, what is Infect? So I discovered that Infect cards, first of all, if they deal damage, they do damage in the form of -1, -1 counters. And you can still kill things with it. It's just if it applies to a player, it applies poison counters, and at that point you need 10 poison counters and you can win the game. So I found all my Infect cards that I got out of the 1,000 card lot, and I decided just to throw them in here because, first of all, it just makes it interesting, kind of flows with the theme. But at the same time, I thought it was just maybe a good way to win, because this has flying, you can hit your opponent, get those poison counters going. The Trigon of Infestation is a 4 mana. It comes with 3 charges, and you can use 2 greens, tap this, and add an extra charge. But if you want to use those charges, you have to tap 2, tap this as well, and you remove a charge counter from Trigon of Infestation, and you put a 1/1 insect creature with Infect. So you can potentially go wide with this. And the last of the Infect cards that I have is this Pestilent Soul Eater. It's 5 mana, so it is pretty hefty. It's 3/3 body, but you can pay with life, and we are going to have a pretty good pool of life with those 4 Cerulean Gatekeepers potentially getting 28 life in a whole game. Probably only going to be like 14 or so. But this is really nice because you get a 3/3 body with Infect, as long as you pay the cost, which is either a swamp or a black mana or 2 life. So just another thing that you can potentially win off of. Remember, you only need 10 counters. I thought that was kind of interesting. This guy can fly over. This guy's most likely just going to be a 3/3 body, but if there's an empty board, maybe you can affect him. Just wanted to have that interesting dynamic in the deck as far as another win strategy, because sometimes you won't be able to pull off the combos all the time. So another thing that I wanted to do, because obviously with Fling you need to sacrifice a creature, so you want to get your opponent to as low life as possible. Now I do have creatures that I'll get into, but this is the damage pack right now, just to slowly whittle them down. Remember, we're trying to outlast them, potentially trying to get 28 HP. But this is Razor Tip Whip. It's an artifact. You use 1 mana, tap it, just deals 1 damage to target opponent. Just slowly wither them away. Kind of another strategy that you can use just to get them to lower HP, so you can fling and get the kill shot with that with Fling. But another one is Scepter of Empires. I'm not playing with the Crown of Empires or the Throne of Empires, so this is always just going to do 1 damage. But still, it's another artifact that dealt damage, so I thought to throw it in there. But next up is Fires of Undeath. This can be used on both a player or a creature. It only deals 2 damage, but that flexibility is worth the 3 mana in my eyes. And then on top of that, you can flashback, which you essentially remove cards from your graveyard, and you had to pay 5 and a black mana. So I thought that was interesting. You can potentially deal 4 damage with this, even though it is a pretty hefty price to really maximize this card. But as you'll see, there's some other cards, such as Drudge Beetle, that are played from the graveyard that I really like, to help out with Fling. But we'll get to that when we get to the creatures. And last up is just a simple Lava Axe. I thought this was cool. Just straight up 5 damage to target player, just helps with reach. And that's the damage pack right there. So obviously if you can't win with Infect, it might be tough to win with this. You have another go-to strategy of whittling them down with just damage spells or damage artifacts for the Fling kill shot, the killing blow. But we're going to get into the early game. There's no 1-drops. So for your 2 mana plays, we'll just start with a simple Daggerdrome Imp. These are flying 1/1s, and they do have lifelink. So over time, I'm playing with 3. You might get, I don't know, 2, 3 health. But the fact that it's flying, it's, hitting for 1 damage each, slowly whittling them down. So that's kind of our strategy. Now, Drudge Beetle is really cool because even though it's just a 2/2 for 2 mana, once it goes to the graveyard, you can scavenge this. So you can exile this from your graveyard. You pay 5 of any color and 1 green, and you can put 2 1/1 counters on any target. So this could potentially be used later on in the game to help with Fling. Because remember, Fling, you sacrifice a creature, and that creature, you deal damage to a target opponent. You most likely only want to use this, since this is our only copy. You only want to use this to kill the player. So you're going to hold this in your hand, and then you have this buff your target creature, and then you go in for the kill. Hopefully that extra 2 damage will help. But this is always going to be in your graveyard. Hopefully you play it early. Next up is Brood of Cockroaches. Even though it's a really gross card, I really like it because it's an enduring card. It's a 2 mana for 1/1, but at the same time you potentially get infinite value, even though you had to pay 1 life to get it back to your hand. So I like it because it's always going to be on the board. It's like, if we miss out on our early game, we can just rely on this for a couple turns, because remember, we have potentially 28 life that we can play with if we get all of our Cerulean Gatekeepers on the battlefield, or just in play. Next up is Grimclaw Bats. I like this card because it's potentially a finisher, even though you do have to pay 1 life. Again, we don't mind losing life. But it's another flying creature, so it has that flexibility and that evasion, and you can start hitting for 1 damage each turn, or you can just start applying pressure, pay 1 life and a swamp, get +1/1. Really interesting card that I think should be included in the deck. And last up is Gatecreeper Vine. I had some other 2-drop candidates, but obviously this one is the one that blends really well with the gate cards, because once you put it down on the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card or a gate card. Reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle your library. Shrinks our deck a little bit. We get that gate. We can choose a gate, which is really nice. And I wanted to play more of these, but this is my only copy, so for a gate deck, I'm just maximizing all of my... I mean, there's a couple of other gate cards that I had, but I'm just trying to maximize as many gate packages as I possibly could and build a strategy around it. So that was the Cerulean Gatekeepers, these 8 Guild Gates, and then, this guy. Oh, and the Ubul Sar Gatekeepers, the Zombie Gatekeepers. So this guy just flows along with the package of the gate theme, so I really like that. It's also a Defender 02, can take a couple swings, so we're just trying to outlast our opponent. So those are our 2 mana plays. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have 7 of those. And let's see here. Let's go on to our 3 drops. So the 3 drops they're kind of meh. We got, let's see here, 6 cards that we can use. And we also have some artifacts that I'll get into as another 3-drop play, but Layered Delve is really, really nice because you reveal the top 2 cards, and if they're creatures or lands, you reveal them. I mean, they're already revealed, but you just put them in your hand. And the rest, you can just put it onto the bottom. So kind of effectively, I don't know, that information's really nice, and if you do happen to draw 2 cards, that really helps. So that's a good 3-card play, a 3-mana play. Next up is Hide Torturer. It's just a 2/3 defender for 3 mana. It's kind of meh, but I really like this effect because it does cost 4 mana and you gotta tap this, but the target opponent loses 2 life and you get that information. So yeah, it's not really good stats, but at the same time it does follow with our game plan of slowly whittling them down, hopefully outlasting them, and just slowly doing some damage. So, and again, this deck is probably only going to be played against other decks that I made from this card lot, so it's not like we're going against high-powered decks. So this potentially could be a sleeper, so you never know. Next up are just 2 Stonefair Crocodiles. These are just 3 mana 3/2s. Nothing really special going on. You do have to pay 3 mana for them to get lifelink, but again, it follows our strategy of building up our life and trying to outlast our opponent. So that's why I included 2 of these. It also fills the 3-drop really nicely. 3 attack and 2 toughness is none to laugh at either, even though it's, for the mana it's like meh. But next up is Blinding Soul Eater. I really like this card because it can be used, you just pay either 2 life, again we have excess life hopefully if we play all of our gatekeepers, or you can use a white mana, and then essentially just tap target creature. Really nice, fills our 3-drop, and thought I would include it in there. And last is the Dead Reveler. It's a 2/3 for 3, but you're probably only going to play this Unleashed, which is a 3/4, even though it can't block, but a 3/4 for 3 mana is really nice, and your opponent has to deal with it, so they're going to have to try and block or something. But I really like this card just because it's decent value, 3 mana for a 3/4, even though it can't block. Alright, so that's our 3 mana plays. Oh, last but not least, we do have our Obelisk of Naya and Mardu Banner. Now, both of these can provide reds, which are used for Fling and Fires of Undeath and Lava Axe. But, you get the flexibility of the swamp, forest, the green and the blue, the green and the black and a white. So just some flexibility. Again, I don't really have too many of these, so just decided to throw them in there for a 3 mana plays. Also, this can cycle itself out, draw a card. So, kind of cool. But yeah, let's keep on going. Okay, so let's continue. So we've already gone through the playset of the Ubul Sar Gatekeepers, so don't need to go over this too much. So I'll move on to the Ogre Jailbreaker. This is another gate card. It's a defender, 4 mana for 4/4, and it can attack as long as you have control of a gate. So again, this was another one of those cards that was, it had that specific text of, having a gate. Made me curious, and I just threw it in a pile of other gate cards, and at the end of, scavenging through the 1,000 cards, I decided, hey, you know what, let's build something with this and, all these other things. So this one's decent. It's a 4/4. It is a potential Fling candidate for our kill shot at the end, for our combo. But, it's just a 4/4 body. It's decent. It's nothing to rave home about. So we do have 5. We are pretty heavy on our 4 drops, but because good, yeah, we got 6 just with the black. Yeah, we just got. Oh my gosh, that might be too much. But anyways, I chose this card because it's really cool. A lot of flexibility in this card. A lot going on in it. It's an enchantment creature, so it is 4 mana for a 3/3 if you were to play it as a normal creature. However, it does have the bestow effect. So with bestow, you can bestow with 6 mana, 5 any mana, and then 1 black, and you enchant a creature as an aura, and essentially you can discard a creature card from your hand and get +2/+2, either by itself or if it's attached. So essentially, you're going to get +5 if you do the whole thing, either if you just have it as a creature or if you bestow it. Now I really like the flexibility of this card because in the early game, mid game, drop it on 4, 3/3. It's like, it's decent. It's pretty bad for 4 mana, but if you need it, you need it. But if you're towards the end game and you see this card and you get Fling or something, then you realize, oh my gosh, I have a potential combo piece. Because I can do the 5, I can do the 3/3 on a creature, buff it up by discarding a card, so I get +5 for my attack, for my power, and then I can fling that creature on top of whatever stats. So if I have like a 6 power creature and then +5, I'm doing 11 damage with fling, and that could potentially win the game if I've gotten my opponent to that low of health. So really like this card, even though my 4 slots are pretty bulky right now because I got these 6, and then on top of that I have these right here. Obviously we have the 4 gatekeepers, so what, that brings us to 10, and this is 11. The 4 spot is pretty clogged, but again, we're playing that endurance strategy, trying to gain as much life as possible with lifelink and these guys. But Seek the Horizon, it's very similar to the other 3 mana play, Lair Delve. We don't have too much card draw, which a lot of combo decks rely on card draw. We're going to rely on health and a little bit amount of creatures. Actually, I think I have like 20 or so creatures. I have to count at the end. But Lair Delve is obviously our other draw card, and then this right here, we can filter through our deck for 3 basic lands and just put them in our hand. Very straightforward. Filters out our deck a little bit. We get through our lands. I don't know, I really like this card. Just wanted to include it to help with draw a little bit. So we do have 11 plays for 4 mana. And then we're going to get into the big guys. So in case you can't pull off the combo of, Grove Guardian and then Fling, which obviously this would be sweet. You immediately use it, you tap, you get that 8/8, and then you immediately fling because it's an instant. So you can win the game on that. But sometimes maybe something happens, bad luck of the draw, it's on the bottom of the deck or whatever. Now we have other creatures that we can rely on. So I'm going to go with this multicolored card first, Armored Wolf Rider. Pretty cool art. Just a basic 4/6, nothing special. But with a 4/6 creature, I feel like it could last on the battlefield. So it is a potential Fling candidate. We don't have too many 4+ creatures. This one could potentially be a 4+. And then we have, the Ogre Jailbreaker, which is another 4 potential creatures. So we do have, if we can't get Grove of the Guardian. We still have some potential candidates to Fling, but I just like this card because it's going to stick around. It has 6 health. It is 5 mana, but, you know, whatever. I like the card. I'm going to put it in there. Even though we are pretty top heavy at the 4 spot, that is a 5 mana card, I think. Yeah, it is 5. Alright, so Hollowhenge Beast, again, another 5 mana, but this one's a 5/5, so it's a better Fling candidate, because it has higher power. And then we'll finish off with a very vanilla, very basic Axebane Stag, 6/7, 7 mana. It's going to stick on the board, hopefully, and it's another potential Fling candidate. So, again, we're going to try and get something that sticks on the board. If we can't get that 8/8 through Grove of the Guardian, and we're going to just solely rely on flinging one of the other sticky creatures that has a high attack or high power. So, that's the deck. We're going to finish off with just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of swamps, and I think 7, yeah, 7 forests if I remember. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah, 7 forests. So as far as our mana base, we have 14. We're split even between forest and swamp. Then we have these guild gates. So even though they do come tapped, it is part of the strategy of a gate deck, I guess. So what is this? This is 8, 14, 22. And then we also have those 3 artifacts. So, you know, we got 24-ish. And we do have multiple potential to get the white mana and the red mana for, you know, whenever the situation arises, whenever we need those manas. But that's this deck. I also built a sideboard. And yes, I know it's in a plastic bag, but these are plastic bag decks, so I haven't really got a deck box for these yet. This is the sideboard. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, okay. So again, nothing special. I don't know how good this is, but I decided to throw it in here just in case I wanted the extra draw, or I wanted to turn 2 swamps, sacrifice this, and then get you know, a green and a white. I'm not sure, it just kind of filters itself through. I'm not sure how good it is, so just threw it in here on the sideboard just in case. Naturalize, good target artifact, or I mean good to destroy target artifacts or enchantments, really nice. And I included 2 Cabal Inquisitors. These are my only 2 that I got in the pack, or in the 1,000 card lot. It's very interesting because in the beginning, it's like, it's 2 mana for a 1/1. It's not flying or anything. It doesn't have lifelink like the Daggerdrome Imp. So it's not as good in my opinion. But if I ever were to decide, hey, you know what, I want to go with discard strategy, hey, why not? But you can only play when you have 7 or more cards in your graveyard. So it's mainly a better card in late game. Whereas typically when I see 2 drops, I want to see what they do early game. So not really sure about that. But I still included 2 in the side deck. This right here is really good because it has everything going on with our strategy. It's a 2/1, it's an instant spell, 3 mana, gives you 3/1, and you gain trample. So you can, it's very flexible. You can use it, you know, if you're trying to save a creature, or you want to go for the offensive, get trample, +3, obviously helps. It helps with Fling, you know, it buffs the, you know, power of a creature, so that's really helpful. And you can flash it back, so that's really, really nice. As a matter of fact, the more I look at this, the more I'm thinking I need to include this in the deck. But yeah, I might swap it out for, or maybe I include both of them. I don't know. I still got to play test a little bit, but it is in the sideboard. Maybe I swap it out for this because they both kind of do the same thing. You know, it's pretty nice, pretty good. I do really like that flashback. The more I look at this, I'm probably going to play with this eventually. Okay, so Spore Cap Spider, 3 mana for 1/5, but it does have reach. If I need anti-air, maybe I bring this in. Not really sure. I just really like the fact that it has 5 health, so it just endures the game. I mean, it just you know, elongates the game. If that's a word. It just makes the game longer, so you can endure and go with our combo strategy. Strangling Suit, again, another cool flashback spell. It does cost a lot more than Wild Hunger. But you know, it's still really nice because it destroys a creature with toughness 3 or less, just no matter what. So I really like that. It's an instant spell. Again, not really too heavy on cards, control cards, simply because I want to kind of control the board, or at least contest the board with creatures. So I don't have to rely on so many cards, because so many of these cards, because I'm trying to pull off that combo. So Mind Rot, again, if I want to go with the discard strategy with Cabal Inquisitor, Mind Rot, definitely a great assistant in that package if I was going for that strategy, for a discard strategy, but I'm not entirely sure. As a matter of fact, these are probably the most likely candidates to be subbed out for other cards. Just got to find some good candidates for sideboard. Unhallowed Pack, really nice card because you put it on a big creature, and if it dies, it goes into the battlefield under your control. Really nice, or you can use it on one of your creatures. It sticks on the board, and then you have another Fling candidate. So, really like this card. Probably will playtest it with it eventually. And the next two cards are kind of weird. They're defenders. This one is a 3 mana for 1/4, and you can sacrifice another creature, and it gains Death Touch. So it keeps your opponent on edge if you have another creature on board with this. But at the same time, it's just like, I already have some decent 3-drops. Maybe I can sub this out for another 3. Just got to playtest and you know, just put it in the sideboard for now. Wall of Shadows. This one's really interesting because it's pretty boring. It's 0/1. It is a defender wall. It is 3 mana, but any damage it's dealt is reduced to 0. Yeah, by creatures it blocks. Yeah, is reduced to 0. So, and it can't be the target of spells or effects that can target only walls. So, I thought this was really interesting. It seems like it's always going to stick on the board and just elongate the game. So maybe this is a good candidate for the game. Not 100% sure. So again, got to playtest. Put it in the sideboard for now. But Corrosda Monitor. Again, this has that scavenge ability, which, you know, I'm highly considering putting this in. It's just, it clogs up that 4 spot, and I already have 11 cards in here. So, I have to put this on the back burner. Maybe I sacrifice one of those gatekeepers that heal for 7. Not entirely sure, but this does flow really, really well. Just like with that beetle, where it sticks in the graveyard, and then all of a sudden, you know, the opponent forgets about it, and then boom, you hit him with the scavenge, buff up your creature. This one can do +3 counters, and then you hit him with the Fling. So I think it's 1 mana more than the beetle, but you do get that 1 extra damage. Really like this card. Gonna try and push it in eventually. Next up is 2 Rabid Bloodseekers. So because we are doing the life drain strategy, this card forces both of us, both the opposing player and you, to lose 2 life. So I thought that was really cool because we're going to have excess life. Maybe we can push him down a little bit more. It is 5 mana, but you do get a 3/2 flyer. I don't know if it's 100%, you know, good value, but I thought it was kind of interesting. Maybe we'll playtest it, see if it works out, but I decided to put it in the sideboard for now. And next up is Sins of the Past. This one's really cool because you can fling back to back. So potentially another combo piece. You do have to sacrifice 2 creatures though, but essentially what happens is, yeah, until end of turn you may play target instant or sorcery spell in your graveyard without paying its mana cost. Again, you just pretty much get another version of whatever spell, and you gotta exile both this and that card after. But still, it's really, really helpful, at least as far as this strategy, in my opinion. Maybe you use this for a Lava Axe. So, highly considering this card. Probably will playtest with this eventually, but put it in the sideboard for now. But yeah, that's right now the version of Combo Gate, which is my first janky deck out of the Star City Games 1,000 card lot with 100 rares, the gold version or whatever it is. Just trying to build, you know, basic decks that I can just play with friends. Nothing serious, just casual kitchen fun. So, hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Take it easy.